What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude, and we are back. We have some fresh slop to discuss that is not related to trades or free agency, but a big extension was signed in the last few hours. So we will get into the Anthony Davis extension in a little bit. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about our sponsors from Underdog Fantasy. If you go on Underdog right now, use the promo code SLOP, that's S-L-O-P, to get a $100 deposit match. It supports the program, so if you have not already, please sign up using that promo code today. I'm in true pervert mode, and I'm just so desperate for any sport related thing that I went, because I don't follow, as everyone knows, I don't follow baseball. So I'm not it's on my periphery, but I'm not really into baseball. Football and basketball are my main sports. And with football kind of coming back last night, I posted my picks on Twitter for the Hall of Fame game.
Let's go.
So my picks, you'll be happy to know that my picks were Kellen Mond, higher passing yards, which everyone is very pumped about. Kellen Mond. He actually, let's see, I don't even know if he cleared the passing yards. I think he did. Hold on, let's see. No, he had 92.
No.
And then Zach Wilson, I had him for higher than 4.8 fantasy points. I figured he'd score a touchdown, right? No, I got both of them wrong. So we're starting off the season great. My picks are just they'll just never be good. I mean, I to be fair, I didn't put a ton of thought into these picks, but for a preseason game on August 3rd, I wasn't going to overthink things, but clearly my shitty pick streak continues. So hopefully you have better luck on Underdog. There's a lot. If you do literally an ounce of research, you can make some good picks on Underdog for the NFL, the NBA. They have WNBA stuff, MLB stuff. You could do it all summer long into the season. We'll be doing some cool stuff with them during the season. So if you have not signed up, sign up for Underdog today using the promo code SLOT. So before we get into our segment that I'm very excited about, the hiding in plain sight draft that we are going to do for potential NBA stars that might not be on some people's radar. Before we get into that, I do want to talk about this Anthony Davis extension, because Anthony Davis signed a very large extension with the Los Angeles, literally the largest in NBA history, which is something that you will be hearing a lot. It's not the biggest deal on a per year basis. I believe Jaylen Brown is still making more. There are a few guys that are making more.
I don't think he is, actually. I think it's more. This is more, if I remember correctly, because my group chat was blowing up. They were saying, "Wow, Jaylen had the belt for most annual value for 2 weeks." And now,
wait, hold on.
What?
Did he only have 1 year left on his contract?
AD?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Maybe
no,
he
has 2 years.
Yeah,
this is
2 years.
I don't.
Well, no. So it's sorry, not the total guaranteed money, but he has the same bigger amount. I think at the end, it's because the max extension.
This is a 5-year, $270 million contract. That's less than Jaylen Brown's.
Right, less because it's less of an extension. There's not as many years.
It's a 5-year extension. That's what Jaylen Brown got.
Is it less than that? Hold on. There's something with the annual value. Anyway, I'm sorry.
It does say he Davis lands the richest annual extension at $62 million in Woj's tweet, but I don't understand how that works. Because to my knowledge, Jaylen's going to be making
But he was doing numerology. Remember, there's 7777 that. There's that 777 clause. I think he probably took a little less money to make that 7777777 clause work.
So the number that's wrong here is 270 plus, because he's making Anthony Davis is making more money than Jaylen Brown per year. If he's making 62 per year, that's over a $300 million contract then.
But now that I'm thinking about it, though, because when was Jaylen drafted in 2016?
Correct.
Okay,
AD
yeah.
is 4
So
years older.
yeah. Okay, yeah. No, so that makes sense because he would be the 10 years of service. Oh no, but the Supermax cancels that out. Never mind. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of money. It's a worse contract than Jaylen Brown.
We're spending 2 minutes on like, wait,
Yeah.
what? This is
Yeah.
so much. All right, this is if you want to get your Celtics propaganda out of the way about why this is a worse contract, then I'm gonna let you cook.
Okay, so first of all, what is Anthony Davis known for besides being the best player on one of the most fraudulent championship teams of all time? That's right, being hurt. What does Jaylen Brown never do except the times that it has happened to him a little bit?
Yeah. As long as there's not a broken vase around, Jaylen Brown is playing 70 to 80 games every year.
He did hurt. I forget what his injury was. The Nets year when they just got smacked by.
He had his wrist. He had a wrist injury. He only gets hand and wrist injuries. I guess
from dribbling. It's dribbling related. That's why he can never. That's why he does bad handle because he's always hurt. Like he always has wrist injuries. It's like how we always say that Jason Tatum's shoulder is bad, and that's why he goes doo-doo mode. That's our cope, our fake thing we made up for
nothing
him.
Can ever be just because someone underperformed. There's always a reason.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good for AD, good for the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers are staring down the barrel of, they better be good this year. Let me just say that. It's going to get nasty in a hurry once LeBron retires. So,
well, it's very good for AD to lock up this money, first off, because it is kind of crazy. And keep in mind, we were probably overreacting because there was no slop happening at the beginning of last year, but we were like 25 games into the season and we were like, did the Lakers just trade Anthony Davis? Like that was we did a whole episode where I came up with like war crimes asking, should they just trade him for like, I think most of the deals, I think I had a deal that was like Nikola Vucevic and picks or something like really not Anthony Davis's value as a player, because when AD's healthy, he's still one of the 12 best players in the NBA. He was fantastic at certain parts of the playoffs. He obviously got that alternating days nickname because it was every other game. It felt like he was really crushing, but for a guy with his injury history to get another huge contract now he's entering his 30s, that's great for him, because I don't know if there would have been that market for him if he has another year like he had the last, honestly, 3 seasons. Like,
right.
He just doesn't play enough games for a team that isn't the Lakers, that doesn't have something invested in him, that doesn't have a 38, 39-year-old LeBron James that they need to win now with. I don't think there is a team out there that's going to be dying to give Anthony Davis basically the largest extension in NBA history. 3 years, $186 million. Oh my God, that's so much. It's just, I still have not wrapped my brain around the amount of money that players make now, but it's kind of wild. But 2021 season, Anthony Davis played 36 games. Now that was a shortened season, but he still missed like 35 games in that season and got hurt in the playoffs. 2021-22, he played 40, and that was a full season. He played 40 games, and the Lakers missed the playoffs entirely. And then last year, he actually played the most games since their championship season, when he played 56 games, and he actually stayed healthy throughout the playoffs. So if you get a year like last year where AD is playing 56 games and he's healthy in the playoffs, you're feeling great if you're the Lakers. But that is where, if I am the team that is giving him, like, it's very similar to the Jaylen Brown situation where it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because what are the Lakers going to do? Just let Anthony Davis walk in a year, or trade him for not nearly his value a year from now? I don't really think they had a choice in this situation because of the LeBron James thing. But there's a world where this contract is just like, in 2 or 3 years, the worst contract in the NBA due to age and injury, not because Anthony Davis isn't one of the best players in the NBA, because we all know that he's still incredible when he is healthy. defensively, he's just such a beast and like so valuable to a team like the Lakers that is now trying to build a little bit younger, have a bunch of creators that take more of the offensive load. And he still can be an elite, not number one guy on offense, but a very, very, very good complementary guy. If LeBron ever is, healthy and ever somewhat LeBron moving forward, then they will be in the championship conversation. They got to the conference finals, but I'm just like, I just don't see it happening. Like, I just don't see AD for the next 5 years as he enters his 30s being healthy enough to ever justify this amount of money.
Yeah. And also you need to have like a super duper, like the Lakers have no way of improving in the short term. Like they're really like out of gas. They have 1 first round pick left, like, and they're capped out, like, and like who of their guys are like valuable? Like Gabe Vincent, I think, is probably going to be tradable, and you can probably get some picks back for him. If
Austin Reeves
probably, but
Austin Reeves has more value to the Lakers than he does to any other team because of his contract.
That's the Marcus Smart thing. That's why Marcus Smart was never traded like all those years with the Celtics. Like it's that same kind of quandary, and I just don't see. You're not what's his name? Rui Hachimura is not going to be a plus value contract. Like, you're not getting stuff back when you move off of Rui Hachimura, barring some sort of insane improvement from him. So I don't know. I really don't see. I just don't see it for like them. I mean, they had to do it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think that this is barring, the Lakers kind of, getting some sort of Dame situation going on with them where it's a 1-team list and you just kind of have to, the other team just kind of has to bite the bullet. Like when the Bucks have to trade Giannis to the Lakers and they have to get back
for Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Yeah, exactly. The Jalen Hood-Schifino, Austin
D'Angelo
Reeves,
Russell,
Rui Hachimura package is going back to the Bucks. So like that's gonna be the Mavericks are all of a sudden getting those guys. So it's gonna be something like that if the Lakers are like trying to get off this. I don't know. Like, I just don't see Anthony Davis being healthy. And I mean, like, look, not to go like full hater mode, like I'll be like realistic. I mean, like he was probably the most impactful defender in the playoffs last year. Like it's not like he's.
And to be fair, I think you've always been very high on Anthony Davis. I don't think that the only thing that you've ever wavered is just the health shit.
Yeah, it's just like he's not healthy, and like LeBron's not healthy, and they're just a top heavy team. And like, even like the Lakers got the thing that takes a team from like okay to like championship contender, which is nailing a 2nd round pick and having that guy really fucking, or an undrafted guy, and having that guy really fucking pop. And it just brought them to needing a little bit of injury luck to get into the conference finals.
I definitely there's definitely some things that broke in their favor. I mean, they were 7 seed and they got to the conference finals. Like, it just doesn't happen.
The Grizzlies were detonating, no Steven Adams and the smallest team in the NBA, and then John Morant doing, whatever he's doing, like just doing Al Pacino and Heat stuff. Everywhere he goes.
I do think that once again, I think the Lakers kind of had to do this. The one thing you could say if you are trying to be kind of optimistic and positive about the Lakers is that I think that Reeves still, and I don't think that he would qualify for this star in plain sight thing that we're gonna do in a little bit. But the reason I say that is like because he has the Lakers propaganda machine behind him, and it doesn't count to me. But the one thing you can say is that they did get substantially younger, and
that's true.
Reeves and Rui and Reeves at least have some untapped upside you could hope for. And then, some of their guys like Vincent and D'Lo are a little bit older. But for the regular season, I think they're going to be totally passable guards that work well around those guys. The part that where and maybe I'll be proven wrong by this because he hasn't even played a game in the NBA yet, but the part to me that is just like, man, they had such a chance with that pick. Like if they just nailed the Jalen Hood-Schifino pick, which as everyone knows that listened throughout the draft process, I was not high on Jalen Hood-Schifino. I didn't understand the pick at all, to the point where his brother or his uncle was yelling at me on Twitter about not knowing ball, which maybe he's right. I don't know. But that is really the kind of wild card thing for them where I'm like, I guess it's easy for me to say this now because it's like LeBron's 38. But like they should have just drafted Cam Whitmore. Like they should have drafted Cam Whitmore. And I think what happened was they thought they were going to get Keontae George with that pick. And then he went with the pick right before to the Jazz.
Yeah.
And the Lakers were like, well, we still want a guard who can create around our guys, which I don't really think that they need that. Like they have Gabe Vincent, D'Lo, Austin Reeves. Like that's their strongest part of their team. I think that if anything, they're probably weaker on wings and bigs than they are with guards, especially when you consider LeBron's just like a 6'8" guard, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So like their whole team is just built from that kind of mold of player. But I just think like, look, maybe Cam Whitmore doesn't pan out. Maybe they were like, oh, he's too young and raw. But like, what the fuck is Jalen Hood-Schifino? Like he's the same. Right. He's the same guy. Like he's literally like also extremely young. So I think that the Lakers had a chance this offseason to like, if they got a steal with that pick, and maybe Hood-Schifino turns out to be, but I don't think so. But I think the fact that they got younger and the fact that you kind of had to do this, and then maybe look, if he has 2 years of okay health, like 50, like I said, all I need is 50 to 55 games of Anthony Davis every year. I expect him to miss 30 games, and I want him to be healthy for the playoffs. Like I want to do what Miami did. Like the young guys really have to step up, and the depth, even from a guy like Jackson Hayes, who they got in free agency, or one of him or Cam Reddish, really need to pop next year for the Lakers to be able to do that kind of thing like the Heat can do. And the reason I say this is because like maybe their hope is, okay, well, if AD is just good and healthy for the next 2 years, then 2 years from now, maybe we can still trade him. Because like if he plays 55 games the next 2 years and then he has 3 years left on his deal, we can move that contract and we can get back at least neutral value, if not positive value. And as we've said before, LeBron's probably going to be either retired or on another team in 2 years, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And as we've said before, the Lakers are one of the few teams that might be able to get away with like, okay, we dumped Anthony Davis and got back like a prospect and 2 first-round picks, but we can get a road to salary cap space. And that's where things can always kind of break in their fortune, because they're one of the few teams that actually can use salary cap space if we ever get free agents again.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, but like it seems like
with Anthony Davis resigning, like who's even on the horizon at this point?
Well, and I think that is what, and because I think that we've talked about this before, but I think that the new deal, like the new CBA kind of leaned,
the new deal, FDR,
the new deal with the fireside chats, and CJ McCollum told everyone, "Don't worry, we're not going to leave men behind," and then they left men behind. With the new CBA, I just think guys are so incentivized to just get that money. You know what I'm saying? And then just do what Dame is doing. Like Bill is going to be in hell or heaven, depending on how you see it. Like Bill is going to. Who's Bill going to yell at? Bill's going to be so catty to so many players. And this is like just the beginning. We're entering a golden age of Russillo and Bill boomering about how guys never used to ask for trades. Like this is going to be amazing in like 2 years.
Yeah. So like I said, like you have Anthony Davis just signed this extension. He was one of the upcoming free agents in 2 years. Mm-hmm. You have the only one that we know of is Donovan Mitchell. And the thing with Mitchell is like, he's probably going to get traded a year from now. He's not extending with Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And he'll probably get traded to one of the New York teams because he wants to play at home. Like that's where he's from, and that's where he wants to be. But like, I do think that this is going to end up. That's a good point by Will. He said they're probably just going to blame it on LeBron because LeBron's so old, and you gotta You got to pay AD, but that kind of is their reality. Like they had to make this move because otherwise 2 years is when guys, if they don't get their extension, which the Clippers are probably going to learn sometime soon.
Yep.
If they don't get their money, then they start looking around and saying, okay, where are you trading me to next? Because if you don't want to pay me, someone else will. So good for Anthony Davis. I'm glad that he got another bag because when he is healthy, he's one of the best players in the NBA. But it definitely makes the Lakers' margin for error a lot smaller with their lack of access to draft picks. And they got to hope that one of these kind of younger guys on their team either takes a leap or they get bailed out by a star trade request, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, do you think the Kawhi Leonard Anthony Davis swap is going to feel like the John Wall Russell Westbrook swap, or will it be a little bit different, like just in terms of?
At this rate, I think that package you just said for Giannis might be going for one of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
Oh, no,
one of those two. I mean, at this point, if Kawhi and Paul George don't get paid, and they only want to live in LA, what's the solution? What if
it's a different team? Yeah, I was just gonna say, what if it is your beloved 76ers and you're becoming Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves? Honestly, I
wouldn't hate that.
I hate that. Yeah, I kind of like that, to be honest. Like,
I hate that for the Lakers because they just did this with Russell Westbrook, even though in the regular season Harden is a better player than Russell Westbrook. But they just did this whole thing about like giving up whatever you had to get a star point guard. And it kind of derailed everything. I just continue to cook with what they have if I'm them.
I mean, like, look, if you do want the championship upside, though, I mean, like, look, Austin Reeves is great. He's not going to do what James Harden did in games 1 and 4 against the Celtics.
Sure. But he's also not going to do what James Harden did in games 2, 5. Like
Fair enough.
The floor is just so low with Harden that, like, if you are a contending team, you have to have I really think that the two teams that might be able to get away with it are the Clippers and the Heat because they have guys that they can trust to run offense through in moments when Harden is going doo-doo mode, and they have the defensive infrastructure to kind of shore things up a little bit for him too.
But I think the Lakers do too.
Oh, if they have LeBron and AD healthy,
that's what I'm saying. Like LeBron, and AD is like,
but the depth would just be nothing.
I mean, the depth would suck.
But that was the parallel to the Westbrook trade for me. Also, keep in mind, you can't trade Reeves and Rui until closer to the trade deadline, so I don't want to give Daryl Morey any fucking ideas.
Dude, go through it again and again.
Oh god,
it's happening, Trill. It's happening. You've got to accept it right now.
God damn it!
February trade package.
I'm gonna throw up.
He can't keep getting away with it.
It is. I mean, I've already accepted it. I'm just
Daryl Snorri.
He's unbelievable. Daryl Snorlax.
Daryl, come on the podcast. Defend yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. You and Richard Jefferson, both open invitations to come on the pod. I'm
now this might incentivize him. Mr. Morey, I am now a Ethan Sherwood Strauss subscriber, so I feel we have that in common. So if you would like to, I email myself these links because on my computer I can't get on the text and stuff. And I opened up my email and I had like 3 emails from Ethan, and it was like the format where it's like the 3. I was like, who the fuck is Ethan? And it's all the Substack emails.
You're on a first name basis with him.
Yeah, I was like, oh god damn it! I'm really paying a steep price for listening to Kevin O'Connor talk about Elon.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have your 30-minute Zoom session for paying for his.
I would love to do that and just be like in full Joker makeup, or like have my JRPGs out and be like, Ethan, have you played Disco Elysium?
No, I have a great idea.
Yeah.
You told me that during the podcast with KOC that Ethan said that he was Starlink pilled.
Yes.
You should buy that. You should buy that PS5 game or PS4 game that everyone shit on called Starlink.
Yeah,
2 years ago, and be like, I heard you're really into Starlink.
I'm gonna give this to you.
And just pretend like you don't even know what the Elon Musk thing is.
It's gonna be awesome when I 3-way in Dasha and the other Red Squirrel Girl, and I create the worst podcast of all time by introducing all of them. It's gonna be awesome.
Let's go.
Um,
Oh my god.
that's our aside. Anyway, House of Strauss, folks. Nate Duncan's the smartest man in the world. Other highlight from the
he processed. You know, the LeBron James of basketball podcasting. The way he processes the game.
I love him. I unironically love. I love that Ethan was exactly what I thought he was going to be on a podcast. Like, that was awesome. Like, his brand is so strong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so moving on from the Lakers shit, let's talk a little bit about this star in plain sight draft that we're going to start. We'll do the first pick or two in the free portion, and then we'll do the rest of it on the Patreon section of this little tease.
Yeah. This is like showing a little shoulder, like like on the striptease. You know,
yeah, exactly.
If you want the real good shit, if you want me picking Romeo Langford third, you're gonna have to sign up for the Patreon. If you
go to onlyfans.com/
only Sam's only Sam's picks.
Let's go.
You're picking RJ Hunter fifth. Yes, he's 37 and out of the league, but
you can't take Rob Williams again, Sam.
Yeah, sorry. Damn it.
So the concept of this is essentially we're gonna do the star in plain sight, hiding in plain sight draft. So this is guys who aren't considered future stars that have been in the league for mostly a few years now. I tried to avoid guys who are coming off their rookie year because it's too hard. You overreact in one way or another. You overreact in like, oh, this guy's definitely going to be a star, or you can overreact and be like, that guy has no shot to be a star, and they develop in year 2, 3, whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is guys that aren't considered like future stars. Like the guy that we use is even like an obvious one is like Paolo Banchero coming off his rookie year. We're not going to take a guy like Paolo. He's not hiding in plain sight. Even Franz, a guy who has been in the league for 2 years, it feels like those two are pretty clearly on star trajectories, as if they might even be stars right now. So those two don't really count for us, but
I even put like Josh Giddey was too obvious for me. Like so that's like kind of the line we're dealing with. Guys like that are too obvious. We're trying to go in the weeds a little more than that.
Yeah. So this is a little bit deeper cuts. These are guys that might never turn into anything. Like I got a little bold with some of my picks as we get further down.
Yeah.
But we'll have some discussions over it. So, Sam, I will give you the floor to make the first overall pick because I'm very interested. We didn't discuss our list at all. I wanted to go in fresh, and I wanted to let you create your own definition of what a star hiding in plain sight is. So, with the first pick in the star hiding in plain sight draft, Sam collects.
I had two guys that I was really thinking about with this first pick. I had like my own little two guys here at the end, and I'm going to go with the one that I think will frustrate you more. And I'm going to pick AJ Griffin as my number one.
Okay.
So that guy.
Okay. So he is coming off the rookie year, which I said I avoided, but I also want to hear your take on AJ Griffin, because this is someone that I was very high on in the draft. I liked him a lot. I liked him a lot in his rookie year. So do you have any stats or thoughts to back up the selection? Because number one overall for AJ Griffin is kind of spicy.
It's a little spicy, but hear me out. So, guy with a lot of pedigree, guy who had a lot of injuries, guy who looked like he belonged in year one. That's a huge thing. But there's enough questions. Like, he didn't pop off the paper. He is not Paolo Banchero. He's not any of these guys who are like super duper. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like, he's not like a, he's not one of these surefire guys. I think he projects as like a role player. Like, I think a high end outcome for him would probably be like you would feel good about him becoming Anthony Simons, something like that. But I think he's got more tools. I think has way more ability as a defender, way more ability. He's a lights out shooter. that can get you a long way. Now, and I think that I don't know. I just kind of believe in him kind of getting a chance to have a little bit more creation. And the other thing I tried to take into consideration when I was doing this is guys in situations where they're going to get weird opportunity. And what I mean by weird opportunity is guys who are suddenly, because of strange circumstances on their team, suddenly going to have to take on a bigger role and step into a bigger role. And I think something fucked up is going to happen with the Hawks in the next year or two.
Certainly trending that way.
Yeah. So I think that there's a chance that they're going to be like, okay, AJ Griffin, let's see what we got in you. And I think he could turn himself into a low end all-star guy. I think he could be not 1-to-1 with Chris Middleton, but I think he's a little smaller than Chris Middleton, but that type of guy, you know what I'm saying? Kind of a poorer man's Chris Middleton. So that was kind of why, that was sort of my thinking on him and picking him first.
Okay, so AJ Griffin, rookie year, he averaged points per game, 8.9 points per game, 46% from the field, 39% from three, but he only played 19 minutes a game, and he actually ended up getting benched towards the end. I guess he fell out of favor with Quinn Snyder towards the end of the season. But he had some stretches, and like you said, the shooting is very, very legit. The shooting is, he'll probably be one of the best shooters in the NBA for the next 5 to 10 years. And that is certainly his path to getting young player minutes. He was 19 this past year, which was a big reason why a lot of people were high on him in the draft, was because in high school, he was this super athletic guy, on ball, creator, great 3-point shooter. The injuries sapped a little bit of his speed, his athleticism, the things that really made him pop, but he always has the shooting to fall back on. And there's definitely a pathway for him. I don't know if I see star upside with him. I definitely see at a minimum high level role player kind of upside with him. I think that he's just going to fit on every team. I think that these are the guys that people are looking for in the NBA, 6'6", 225, I know he struggled. A lot of wing rookie defenders can struggle, but I know that he has defensive ability and tools. And on top of that, the shooting and the opportunity could arise in the next year or two for sure. I think that the Hawks are going to end up a train wreck. Even though I like a lot of their young guys, it just the pieces just have never fit on that team. And Griffin's a big part of their team moving forward, because they still don't have shooting. They still don't have, other than Trey, it's DeJounte's not a shooter. Okongwu's a prospect for them. He's not a shooter.
Could you imagine if they got a guy like Kevin Huerter or something?
I would be blown.
That would be amazing. They would be so good.
The AJ Griffin is realistically going to have to be the Kevin Huerter replacement, and that is his role in the next year or two. And I think over time, if he can ever get back a little bit of, if he just has a good stretch, he played 72 games his rookie year and was benched towards the end of the season. So he didn't struggle with the injuries in the same way that he did in college and in high school. If he can ever get back to the point where he's healthy for long enough, I do think that there is at least a pathway for him to getting there.
Yeah. I just think that, like you said, he's going to play a lot, it's just staying on the floor and being able to stay on the floor. You can find your way into this, even the sub-star tier. Malik Monk was I think almost out of the league, and just that skill set is he just gets to stay and stay and stay. And now he's not an all-star, but he's a
6 man of the year.
He's a 6 man of the year guy. It's
probably one of the 100 best players in the NBA, which is not something that anyone would have thought 2 years ago. And except for me when I told Daryl Morey to sign him.
It's true. So true. Or me when I said we should draft him over Jason Tatum.
The pre-draft, that's different. Everyone thought.
But I do think, but I think AJ Griffin just has a lot more tools. Malik Monk was a small guard. You know what I'm saying? And this is he's more toolsy. He had more on-ball stuff at like lower levels. You know, I think he can get back to some of that stuff from some of the injuries. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. I don't watch him and think like this is Harry Giles level cooked. You know what I'm saying? Like
no, I mean he didn't have it. The fact that he played 72 games and played 20 minutes a game as a rookie at 19 is incredibly encouraging if you're worried about his health moving forward, because at a certain point it just looked like he was never going to be able to stay healthy, and it doesn't appear to be the case now, hopefully. So all right, so first pick, AJ Griffin. I'll make my pick, and then we'll go to the Patreon portion.
Okay.
So this pick might not surprise some people. Maybe some people consider this guy a future star. I've never heard him as described as a future star, but I'm going to go, except for maybe one person, Chuck from Chucking Darts has probably said this because
I think it's the other guy I had in my tier.
Trey Murphy?
Yes, that was the other guy I had in my tier. Yep.
All right, there we go. All right, so Trey Murphy's been in the league for 2 years now. Had a really, really good second year. This is a guy that, like I said, Chuck was huge on him in the 2021 draft. I remember him projected to go in the Sixers range, and he ended up making a leap towards the end of his time in the draft process. Ended up going 19th, and now it looks like on return, like he's one of the 5 to 10 best players in that draft, and that's just based on him as a role player. That's not based on him being the guy. And if you look at what he did this past year, so he averaged 14.5 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.4 assists in 31 minutes. So he was starting for the Pelicans. And keep in mind, this is such a small sample that you shouldn't take anything from it. But there's at least an indicator that with his shooting ability, and like he's never going to be like a run 30 pick and rolls a game guy, but this past year he had 32 possessions as a pick and roll ball handler, and was, once again, don't take anything from the sample because the sample is so small that you shouldn't take anything from it. But he at least displayed in these possessions that he was literally the most efficient pick and roll scorer in the NBA this year. If you don't filter out guys based on possessions. So he scored 1.3 points per possession on the pick and roll, which that's obviously going to drop the more that he gets those reps, because no one scores that much. Even the best guys in the pick and roll don't score that much on a per possession basis. But the fact that he was able to run some and score on them is an encouraging sign for a guy who has largely been an off-ball guy, playing off of Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum in his first 2 years in the NBA. And I think this is another guy that could get opportunity with the Zion injury situation. Ingram struggled to stay healthy. CJ's getting older. And like all of their other prospects are either like Kira Lewis, who's not really panned out, or like Jordan Hawkins, who's like primarily a spot up shooter. And then you have guys like Dyson Daniels and Herb Jones, who are good players, but they're defensive prospects. So Trey is really the only one in their pipeline that's like an offensive first guy who showed some defensive skill in his first 2 years. And Will tossed this in the Discord the other day. We were talking about Trey Murphy and his potential upside. And keep in mind, we talk about Mickey Mouse March all the time, and we talk about how you shouldn't overreact to the last month of the season. But the Pelicans, as Will pointed out, the Pelicans were fighting for a playoff spot, and he averaged, over the last 14 games of the regular season, he averaged 21.7 points per game, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 1.6 steals on 51, 45, 90 splits. And on the season, he shot 72% at the rim. 72% at the rim, which is like the best finishers in the NBA for a wing. Like, it's like Giannis, Mikal Bridges, him, like, there's not a ton of guys that even on unassisted shit are shooting assisted shit are shooting 70% at the rim, 72%. He shot 40% from 3 on decent volume and 90% from the line this year. So he's a lethal shooter. He might be able to grow into an on-ball guy. And if not, I think that, like, worst case scenario, you're looking at a guy who's an elite 3rd or 4th guy on a really good team potential. And I think that he might have more upside and just become like a legit star in the next few years. He's still only 22.
Yeah. No, he's really, and Yeah, all of what you said, what I ultimately gave AJ Griffin some of this. The only thing is I worry if he's ever going to develop any like playmaking style abilities, like the turnover to assist ratio kind of makes me think he'll be more of just like a super duper duper like role player guy, like the highest level of
the Michael Porter Jr. type, basically.
Yeah, like 3-3-D. Yeah, well, just like with like better defense, type of thing. So I don't but they're very close. I think these are the two guys that I would bet on the most. I think that we could say it's very funny that I thought I was stealing your top pick with AJ Griffin.
No, I didn't have AJ because I tried to avoid the rookies, but
that's right. Yeah,
I didn't even think of him when I was listing out my rookies. Like I had a few guys, I had a few guys that just missed my cut because of the rookie deal, and I actually had two other guys that I had thought of, and not AJ Griffin. But that was an interesting choice. I did not expect that for the number 1 overall pick. But this is the end of the free portion. If you want to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to the You Know Ball Patreon. The link is in the description. We will be drafting the rest of these hiding in plain sight stars, and then also riffing on a ton of other shit. And I'll have to pick Sam's brain on that podcast with Ethan Sherwood Strauss and Kevin O'Connor that everyone can't stop raving about. So if you want to hear this, link is in the description. Sign up for the You Know Ball Patreon today.